Now, the US Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Julie Chung, states that the main hurdle in Sri Lanka's pursuit of the $2.9 billion bailout package from the IMF is a delay by China to provide the country with necessary assistance pertaining to debt restructuring. These remarks were made by the ambassador while speaking to the BBC on the economic crisis in the island. Meanwhile, the governor of the central bank, Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe, also expressed his opinions on the delay in securing an agreement with the IMF.
When we thought we should be able to get the assurances within about 3 months, so that we were hoping to get the program unlocked from the IMF somewhere in December. For whatever reason that there was a delay, the sooner they give us financial assurances, that would be better for both, as a creditor, as a debtor. That will help for us to start repaying their obligations sooner than later.
Speaking on the present status of Sri Lanka's progress in securing an IMF agreement, US Ambassador to Sri Lanka Julie Chung pointed out the importance of China's role in the proceedings.
Beijing has said they are a friend of Sri Lanka, and I'm sure the Sri Lankan people would love to see that turn into action and make sure that there is not a delay and that Beijing really responds quickly without delay in terms of providing those financial assurances. Sri Lanka does not have time to delay. They need these assurances immediately. And we've seen, again, delays in Zambia and Chad and other countries where for one reason or another it's been held up. And China has been the spoiler. So again, for the sake of the Sri Lankan people, we certainly hope the PRC is not a spoiler as they proceed to attain this IMF agreement. We look for more coordination within the international community, not less, as we look towards how we can support countries in debt distress, help them get back on their feet, but in a way that the reforms will be long-lasting and not returning to the same cycle of debt distress that we've seen everywhere.
Now, following the remarks by the US envoy in Sri Lanka, the Chinese embassy in Colombo released a statement rejecting the claim that Chinese authorities are spoiling debt restructuring efforts in Sri Lanka. The embassy drew attention to the aid provided by China during the economic crisis in Sri Lanka, while also pointing out that the economic leverage the West has on Sri Lanka's external debt stock.
The Chinese embassy yesterday rejected the claim by Ambassador Julie Chung that China is causing an unaffordable delay in Sri Lanka's effort to secure an agreement with the IMF. In the statement, Chinese authorities pointed out that the US is eager to accuse China as a spoiler to the nation's negotiations with the IMF. The statement urged the US ambassador to consider the disproportionate power that the US has over major policy decisions due to its veto power. Highlighting US economic policies which impacted Sri Lanka during the economic crisis, the Chinese authorities also pointed out that the United States added $3 trillion to its money supply in 2020 alone. Furthermore, China also drew attention to the fact that 40% of Sri Lanka's external debt is owned by private creditors, predominantly in the West, who charge the highest interest rates. The statement also reminded that Sri Lanka was challenged with legal action in the federal courts of the United States immediately after the country's default. In the statement, the Chinese authorities highlighted the support that China gave Sri Lanka when the country faced its darkest hour. The embassy pointed out that China provided 10,000 metric tons of rice, 9,000 litres of diesel, medicine worth 5 billion rupees and 3 million fabric meters of school uniform materials as gifts as the country reeled from an acute foreign exchange crisis. The statement also mentioned that the public wonders about the preconditions of assistance provided by US aid while being assured of China's no-strings-attached commitment and practice. The embassy also raised the question as to why the US authorities didn't leverage their power within the IMF to provide Sri Lanka with a more comfortable solution, while questioning why grants weren't extended from the exorbitant amount of US dollars printed each year. The embassy stated that it was hypocritical of the US ambassador to play the blame game instead of self-examination.